everyone. Welcome to IC Stories Manila, episode 33. So, this is going to be a very special episode kasi we're going to be joined by someone from Dfinity. So, mamaya na natin siya introduce sa inyo. But again, this is a very special episode, you guys. So, make sure i-prepare nyo yung mga questions ninyo because I'm sure napakarami niyang pwedeng insights na pwedeng i-offer sa ating lahat. So, bago ang lahat, you know the drill. Mag-hello muna tayo sa mga napaka-early viewers natin. No? So, Echo Infinity, ayan, hello, kumusta kayo? Charles Capistrano, Mer, ayan. So, si Mer, kaibigan natin yan, no? Na-meet natin siya. Supporter po siya ng ICP Investor from Hong Kong. O, diba? Pero Pinoy Pride. Thank you so much for being here. Ultimate Gaming, good evening. Dan, hello. Scout Martin, of course. Kulang ang episode kung wala si Scout Martin, no? So, ayan, maraming salamat. To the moon daw. Ayan, napakaganda nga ng sentiment ngayon, no? So, I'm so excited. I'm super happy to see yung mga people na nag-stick nung bear. Ngayong medyo maganda na ulit, nandyan pa rin, no? And dumadami na tayo, guys. Thank you again. Ayan, LFG daw, sabi ni Dorianto. Thank you, everyone. Ayan, sabi ni Spitfire, kabado daw siya magtanong sa guest. Oo nga, guys, mapapasabak tayo sa English, but I've watched a lot of his AMAs, no? Niya, ang gaganda ng mga sagot niya, very insightful at sobrang daling intindihin. No? So, ayan, speaking of which, wag natin patagalin pa, tawagin natin, of course, si Sir Nelson. Let's bring him to the stage and ask, ano ba yung mga bagong updates with ICP? Hi, Sir Nelson, how are you?
I'm good. Hello, good evening. Magandang gabi. Happy New Year sa lahat, no? Si Mer, si Scott Martin, nakakatawa. Spitfire, no? Huwag kang mahiyang magtanong. Kailangan natin magtanong. Kadagdagan ng kaalaman yan. Pag di tayo nagtatanong, hindi natin malalaman, di ba? So,
Tama.
we need to ask those questions. We need to ask hard questions as well. And very knowledgeable ang ating guest, no? Si Kyle. And I've heard a lot of his AMAs actually. Mga interviews sa kanya. And he's very knowledgeable and very deep on wealth of experience, no? Specifically siya yung director ng data and analytics. Napakalaking bagay nito. Malalaman natin ito mamaya. And for update sa ICP Hub Philippines, we do have a lot of in store, no? We're still focusing on education, definitely. We want to grow our network, no? Kumbaga, increase our reach. We're initiating this Be the Builder campaign, no? We want to change that narrative, no? From being mere users to builders, no? What if, no, in the near future, Filipinos will be known as builders of good projects, no? Mga investors coming in from different country, they'll come here not to increase their followers but to increase yung investments nila, no? They want to invest on projects in the Philippines. Hopefully together with the government, no, DICT, DTI, BSP, we can achieve that, and that's the main initiative for this year. And we will start definitely once the school starts, na parang di pa yata nag-start yung mga school, no, yung universities. But yeah, they will start soon, and we'll continue with our Think Hackathon, with our workshops. This time around, mas mature. This time around is going to include government departments and agencies and relevant key organizations. So that's it.
Yes, so very exciting stuff. I think we covered, akala mo tagal natin hindi nag-uusap, no? So we were talking about this extensively din sa previous episode natin, which was like 2 days ago, I think. So yan, as you guys can see, kung ramdam nyo na yung presence ng ICP Hub Philippines last year, mas ramdam po ngayon. We're going to more regions, more universities, no? And ayun nga, we're partnering up with government, with the government. And basta napakarami talagang exciting things. And of course, we're gonna announce all of them sa ating socials. So if you're not following us yet, nakalink po yan sa ating description box. But wag natin patagalin pa. I know everyone's super excited and you have your questions prepared. So let's call in our very special guest from Dfinity, the Director of Data and Analytics, Mr. Kyle Langham. Hi Kyle, how are you?
Hey everyone, doing well. How are you doing? Thanks
We're
for having me.
Good morning.
Thanks
Nelson,
for
Juliana.
being here.
Yeah,
A
feels good to be here.
super early morning there. It's around 8 a.m. I think.
Hey, we don't take time off at Dfinity, so there's no such thing as early.
Good
That's a
point.
great answer. That's a really great answer. So, Kyle,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself. Let us get to know you more. Like, how did you start in crypto, and how did you get to Dfinity?
Yeah, actually, my journey to Dfinity is pretty interesting. I've been I started in Bitcoin as a lot of people within crypto did. I was working. I spent most of my career in pharmaceuticals. In 2020, I was working for a small vaccine company that was making a COVID vaccine.
Mhm.
And as part of that, we got all this money from the U.S. government, and they had these strict requirements that we had to beef up our cybersecurity, and we were spending so much money
Mhm.
trying to improve our cybersecurity. And what I learned through that was there's no amount of money you can spend to actually have full security on the internet. The internet itself is almost by design insecure. And at the same time, Dominic Williams was preparing for mainnet launch, and he's talking about how the internet computer can essentially combine blockchain and cryptography to create a more secure tech stack that you could build off of. So you don't need firewalls, you don't need VPNs. And the timing was just perfect. It just caught my attention. I saw how much money we were spending at the vaccine company, and we weren't getting the results we wanted. And then I saw this new vision for a new internet, and that led me to just get really deep into the internet computer. At some point, I got to talk to Dom himself, and he invited me to join. And so the rest is history. Now I've been with Dfinity for almost 2 years now.
Wow. I mean, 2 years is forever in this space, right?
It is. It's funny. I think a lot of non-crypto people would be like, "Oh, that's not a lot of time," and everything. I'm like, "Hey, surviving 2 years in crypto is,
Yeah.
That's long. Yeah,
yeah,
One, one,
you've been through a
one week
lot.
here is 1 month.
Oh, yeah,
One
for
week,
sure.
1 week, 1 month. It's a sprint.
yes."
It really is. I'm glad you mentioned. I didn't know that you had a medical background. I also came from a medical background, so I have a few questions integrating blockchain into that in a while. But
Oh, sure.
maybe to start with, for our Filipino viewers who are just getting into blockchain, crypto in general, how would you explain, in layman's term, what ICP is about? What is ICP?
Yeah, actually, I think the story I just told about how the internet itself is insecure, and then the internet computer is a blockchain version of a tech stack. That's probably the best way to understand it. If you need
Mhm.
another easy way to understand it, think of like Amazon Web Services, AWS, or Google Cloud or Alibaba Cloud, like these cloud hosting providers. You can almost think of the internet computer as a decentralized blockchain-backed version of that. But really, the key is, we're not an L1. We operate as an L1, but that is just one thing that the internet computer can do. And I
Mhm.
think in 2024, you're going to start to see how the internet computer kind of broadens out beyond even just like Web3 and crypto, and starts impacting things like the sustainability industry. Corporate IT is going to be another area. Government. We're already seeing a lot of interest in the technology from outside this traditional crypto space, because again, we can
Mhm.
provide a secure tech stack that is unique within the technology industry. So
Yeah, let's expound on that. In your opinion, what role can ICP play in fostering innovation and breakthroughs in those unconventional fields or projects? Say the government, one of the things you mentioned.
yeah, so the way I think about it is, I mean, right now, almost every single app you use is built on AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, or Alibaba Cloud, right? Those four right
Mhm.
there make up like 90% of the market share. Um,
Mhm.
now that's honestly, I don't want to say like that's bad, or there's certain trade-offs with that. What blockchain and cryptography bring are decentralization, transparency, financial rails, and the fourth one is escaping me. But basically, there's features that a blockchain can bring an application, and if you're building an application that could utilize that, like decentralization, might be a great way to reduce your users' need to trust you yourself, right? So
Mhm.
if building an application that needs one of those features, the internet computer is really where you should be building it. And so it unlocks this new world on the internet that that you couldn't build apps before that would utilize those features. Like digital ownership is another great example, right? You couldn't build apps that would leverage digital ownership, but now you can. Now that in and of itself is cool. Like we have NFTs, we have tokens, but I think what the real way to think about it is, what is that? What are the products that are going to come out, a year from now or 5 years from now that are just, there was a time, in 2005 where nobody was thinking the internet was going to disrupt taxi services, and then Uber hit the market. And everyone was
It was
like,
crazy.
yeah. Airbnb at the same time. And so that kind of explosion of innovation, I think we're just on the horizon of that within the crypto industry. And the internet computer is going to probably be the one that really actually unlocks that new innovation.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. Go ahead,
Julian,
sir.
I just want to add as well. Kyle really mentioned, he hit it everything. He mentioned also I think one of the AMAs, and he mentioned just now, through digital ownership. I think our industry right now is all about decentralization. It started with Bitcoin. No central entity overseeing this. It hasn't been hacked. Only the platforms that are built on it are being hacked. Of course, that's a totally different story. But we're in this space because we really want to be 100% decentralized. And unlike, I don't want to mention other competitors out there that sometimes they shut down their blockchain, that supposedly it doesn't happen. A true digital ownership, I think, is really the key. Wherein you are really a part of that a project that is 100% decentralized. Maybe Kyle, can you elaborate more on? I think I like the term that you coined there, true digital ownership.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just even if there's a fundamental thing, right, where if there's a credit card involved at some point in a transaction, then there's no true digital ownership, because somebody has to maintain that credit card. So everything on AWS, everything on Alibaba Cloud, all of those require some sort of payment method to be linked to the account. And if that owner stops paying the bill, guess what? Your ownership, maybe your blockchain is still standing, but your digital asset is no longer available online. So to get to true digital ownership, which is how the internet computer works, is you almost have to think about it from the opposite way. You have to create a tech stack that people can build on, and fully decentralized. So there's no credit card associated with it. You launch these smart contracts, and essentially anyone can pay the bill of the smart contract. So even if the person who launched the project walks away from it, the community can do it. You have a great example of like Tagger, which is a short form blog post application. And in that case, the community itself is supporting the actual cost of running the application. And there's nobody now at this point that could walk away and take the app down. So it's like fully decentralized. Everything on it is community owned and controlled.
That's the goal. I mean, I think we bring so much to the table, and Dom likes to call them superpowers. So let's go through some of them. So in the Philippines, when we talk about ICP, or those who are involved, or Filipinos overseas, usually ask two of its superpowers. One is the reverse gas model and the CKBTC integration, of course. So let's start with the first one. So with the reverse gas model, can you explain what this is and why this is game changing?
Yeah. So on every other chain, it's the user who pays the transaction fee, right? So if I wanted to buy an NFT on Ethereum, I have to spend my ETH to buy that NFT. If you think about your normal, when you're using internet sites that aren't crypto related, that doesn't exist. There's no, like, I don't go to google.com and pay a tenth of a penny so I could use google.com. Google pays that cost, and then they figure out a way to monetize based on my usage. That model works so well for the internet, and I don't know why in crypto we decided to flip that. So the reverse gas model is essentially flipping it back. The developer pays the cost. and the cost is really, really cheap compared to other blockchains to begin with. But the developer pays the cost. And then from a user experience, it's so much more nice because you can just use an application like you would,
Seamless. Yeah.
Yeah.
like you would use any other app. And then it's on the developer to figure out the business model to recoup the cost of running the website or running the app.
I mean, that
Yeah.
just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
makes
I think I like the one that you mentioned again on one of your emails that users should basically not even realize that they're interacting with the blockchain. It's so efficient, so quick. It's just the same using the internet right now. Can you elaborate more on this?
Yeah, I mean, again, the internet has a working model. When you go to a website on the internet, you don't see somewhere where it says like proudly built on AWS or proudly built on
Yeah.
Google Cloud. Like
Yeah.
that, nobody cares about the tech stack. What
Yeah.
users want is a great user experience. They want a cool
Yeah.
app that does what they
Correct.
want it to do and to do it fast. And so like again, within crypto, we've kind of got this more maximalist approach of like, I will only use apps that let's say I'll only use Solana apps. And that a lot of that is because of, again, the gas fee model where you have to own the crypto to use the app. Within the internet computer, again, reverse gas fee unlocks us from that. We don't have to care about applications advertising ICP. What we want is just people building phenomenal apps, and then the rest will work itself out. Like, when as a developer, you might use an app and be like, holy cow, this thing's amazing. How did they build this? Like, it's not possible to build this on Solana or Ethereum or whatever L2 for Ethereum. How do they do this? And then they start looking into it and they say, oh, it was ICP. Now I know I can build, I should look to build that. That's the real way it should be. It shouldn't be this like, let's build maximalisms that are focused just on one specific tech stack.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree. Now let's talk about CKBTC. Can you explain how the integration of this works within the ICP ecosystem?
Yeah, to understand CKBTC, you have to first understand Bitcoin integration. And the easiest way just to understand Bitcoin integration is there's a Bitcoin node running on ICP. And what that does is it unlocks developers. It gives them the ability to use that Bitcoin node directly from ICP. And we also have a thing called chain key, which is essentially kind of taking your private key and sharing it across the network, and then having some cryptography to kind of bring it all back together. But the main thing is it's probably it essentially removes the need for middlemen and intermediaries between one blockchain, ICP, and another blockchain, Bitcoin. So now it's just a blockchain talking to a blockchain. There's no third party. And that's where all the hacks happen, is the third party. So CKBTC is an application of that integration where you can have a token on ICP that is one-to-one backed by Bitcoin. So it gets all the advantages of ICP, super cheap transactions, super fast transactions, all of that. And you get the security knowing that at any time you can easily move more BTC into CKBTC or CKBTC into BTC. And I don't know if your listeners have done it, but it's possible for that going in and going out to just be in any single app. So like I've been using Bionic recently, which is an ordinals marketplace on ICP. And they have it just real easy. I send my BTC to my Bionic BTC wallet, and then I can easily convert it into CKBTC. And then at that point, it's just real easy.
Yeah, I think it shares the same core of why the reverse gas model is again a game changer in the Web3 space. It's because it's always going to be about that seamless user experience. Like everything is easy, secure, and I think that's the core of Web3 as well. Just improving the addressing the problems of Web2, leveling that up, and providing more value to the users. So now, as a director of data and analytics, can you explain the role of blockchain in enhancing data management and analytics within, again, the ICP ecosystem?
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting question. Analytics help us understand what's going on within the ecosystem, which apps are gaining traction, whether or not the ecosystem's growing or where we need to focus more effort. But there's blockchain itself it's going to revolutionize data storage specifically, and then data processing as well. One of those areas is like decentralized AI. So with we recently announced that we're going to upgrade our canister storage memory to 400 gigabytes, right? And so one of the things that does is it allows massive data sets to sit on the internet computer, and then that unlocks. The whole point isn't to just roll out these features. The point is to allow innovation on top of these features. So some potential innovations could be somebody loading up a bunch of data and then using that data as like a NFT. So allowing people to buy data sets from them in a very frictionless manner. Other things could be decentralized storage of the data so that AI models can be trained on them, and there can be a financial component to that. Like every time the AI model, the inference engine is used, the data set owners receive some sort of payment in a crypto. There's a lot of cool things you could do with data stored on the blockchain in that way.
I agree, Kyle. I was talking to my tech lead the other day with regards to the increase to 400 gig, and he mentioned that it's going to be a game changer. To be honest,
it got a little bit of traction, I think, on Twitter or on X, but I don't think I think it's just kind of a cool thing right now in people's minds. Like, oh wow, that's a big number. I don't think people understand the innovation is going to lock, not just in crypto. Like again, I just mentioned an AI use case within enterprise. Like it is it's something mandatory on the enterprise level. You're usually talking hundreds of gigabytes. So it's kind of mandatory for if ICP is going to play a role in corporate enterprise, that we need to be able to store lots of data in a single canister. And so, it was just very nonchalant, like, hey, we're going to do this thing. And that Dfinity kind of rolled up as like, we're a bunch of tech nerds and we're going to roll out cool things and not make a big deal about it. But the community caught on and made a big deal. So,
and I think the impact again on, we're just scratching the surface. I mean, there are so many, you could look at so many fields and find applications for this, right? So I'll bring back what you mentioned earlier. So we both have an experience in the medical field. How do you see this applying in that specific field?
In my medical experience is specifically pharmaceuticals, but I mean there's cool things going on with decentralized science that. Again, that is so early. There's so much that needs to be figured out about that. But what you can do is decentralize a lot of the research work going on across companies. So like a great example is, there's a few major players in pharma and they protect their data. They're very, very obviously on their drug discovery side of things, data is like all they have. And that kind of is their competitive advantage. However, it would be very helpful if they could work together, either as an industry or as individual parts, but there's a lack of trust, right? And so again, going back to the idea that blockchain brings you decentralization and transparency, that can tear down trust barriers, which might actually allow players who had an adversarial approach to take on more of a trusted partnership approach and create ways that they can work together to move forward. So I think that's kind of the area where all of these players will slowly start to be able to build systems that can make it so they can trust each other.
Yeah. I feel like that is very important because that's very sensitive data, but also at the same time there's so much work that you don't have to repeat anymore if you know that they already tested for this, or this already works, this has been proven that it doesn't. So there's just so much work, time and money that we could be just saving if we apply that in that field. And as a user too, I think you had an interview where you discussed as a user you can find value in this, wherein someone could create an app basically where you have all of your information, your medical history, and then if you go to a different doctor, a different specialist, you can just have that data that you have and just securely how do you say it, give or provide to your new share to your new medical practitioner, right? So I think that's very interesting because we had so here at ICP Hub Philippines we do ideathons and hackathons, and there were students in the Philippines who suggested that idea, and I
Yeah.
think that's going to be big if someone actually builds something like that. A medical, a way for us to make it secure and easy to just have your medical history.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a powerful for the individual, right? Because it's a pain to have to sit and manage your medical records as you go to a new provider. It
Mhm.
also has a lot of benefit in terms of there's not a lot of value in a few medical records, but when you get a big data of medical records, there's like incredible value, right? You could train AI that
For sure.
actually
Yeah.
like you could create so many more better health outcomes, and as well as like drug discovery, all of that stuff would be amplified. But
Mhm.
how do you compensate each individual person who contributed their medical data to that data set? Well,
Yeah.
blockchain, again,
Yeah.
easy financial rails, digital ownership, and then transparency, like those three things combined could create an app that allows for the pooling of millions and millions and millions of medical records, DNA records, whatever it is, for the use of researchers and for the use of companies, however you want to structure it.
I would love you to expound on that, because how do you think, or how does ICP balance the need for data accessibility with the imperative of maintaining a secure environment for, again, users and developers alike?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to go about that. Like one thing is most blockchains are fully the entire ledger is fully transparent. Our financial ledgers are transparent, but data storage within a smart contract can be hidden by the developer.
Mhm.
But smart contracts can be owned and controlled by individuals, and done at a cheap, like a great example is on open chat. Every
Mhm.
single DM you have is its own canister. So like if we were talking in a chat, it's its own canister. So you can roll out these canisters super cheap. What you
Mhm.
could do then is every individual could own a canister that has their private data in it. So only they have access to it. Um, and then what they can do is by sharing their keys to the data, they can control which developers, which researchers, which applications have access to their data. And then at any point where if they don't feel comfortable with the relationship, they could remove that access simply by, removing the
Okay.
keys.
Yeah.
So it flips it, right? So right now, if your medical records are digital, they live on somebody else's computer, a computer that
Mhm.
somebody else physically
Sure.
controls. What blockchain and what ICP can do specifically is make it so that your data lives on a computer that you control,
Mhm.
or a smart
Yeah.
contract that you control, and that's a big fundamental like change in
Oh yeah,
thinking.
for sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Good
it's
point.
your record, so you should be the one having that control, right? So one of the things as well, we can just go on the whole day and talk about this, because that's just the medical field, and there's
Yeah.
a lot still that we can discuss, right? So one of the things we also discuss here is, agriculture, and many again of the hackathons that we hold are focusing on that, because the Philippines is an agricultural country. So one
Yeah.
of the applications that you mentioned as well is AI. And I think that's very interesting, because there are a lot of implications, or there are a lot of applications in this area. So maybe you gave us a glimpse earlier, but now can you discuss deeper the advantages of using ICP specifically for data storage in AI compared to our existing traditional solutions?
Yeah. So there's a lot of it. I think high level, what I would say is where we're at with the internet computer is the training of the models is the only part that can't be decentralized on the internet
Mhm.
computer. It's too computationally
Yeah.
intensive, and to be honest, we know how to do it. Like we could just buy a bunch of GPUs, set up a subnet where this can be done, and we know that probably it would probably take a little bit more of R&D work, but we can get there. We know we
Mhm.
can get there, and we can get there pretty quickly. What we don't know is
Wow.
whether there's a
Okay.
market for that, whether
Yeah.
there's a market for training on a blockchain. But every other component, whether it's the data storage, the data aggregation, the data cleaning, whether it's the algorithm that does the training, whether it's the pre-trained model where it lives, whether it's the user interface on how somebody interacts with it, like all of that can be decentralized. And again, I think just high level, there's a whole financial component of it to make sure that people get financially incentivized to either provide data or to build
Mhm.
algorithms.
Mhm.
or just like OpenAI very publicly scraped the internet, and now there's
Yeah.
all these companies who are like, you scraped our data, you owe
Mhm.
us money for that, and there's no mechanism to pay. There's the financial part of it. There's also just the decentralization or the democratization part of it. We're progressing towards AGI pretty quickly, and that has obviously a lot of people saying like, are the robots going to take over?
A
Yeah.
One thing,
valid question. I think it's a valid.
it was a silly question 3 years ago.
But
Now it's
now you're
like,
like, hmm,
yeah, I mean the whole Sam Altman getting thrown out of his own
debacle.
company
Yeah.
because of like how fast the company's moving is.
Mhm.
Anyways, the question though, what we're missing is, okay, so let's assume that the robots don't take over, because that's called the alignment problem. How do we make sure AI is aligned to human values? The
Mhm.
thing that people aren't talking about is whose human values are we aligning AI to? Is it Sam Altman's human values? Is it
Good point.
the U.S. government? Is it whose values? Because human values are extremely diverse across the
Yeah.
globe. I mean, human values are extremely diverse in my own
Exactly.
household.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so democracy is the way that we've handled that in the past, but there's no democracy right now in AI, right? It's Sam
Mhm.
Altman has full control over OpenAI. You know, Microsoft has full control over I guess they're partnered, but Google has full control over Bard, so the LLMs kind of thing. So what we need to start thinking through is how do we create systems where we can aggregate human values across the population and ensure the AI is aligned to those values.
Yeah, I think that's
Exactly.
a very, very important question that we truly have to answer. And there's a lot to be discussed in AI. So we mentioned data storage. How do you think ICP could add more value to AI in general, or in the progress of it?
Yeah. So I think in terms of you want data storage specifically, would be a lot of it could be the financialization of data. So one thing to remember is in blockchain you always have a replication factor. So you always have to copy the data multiple times. In the case of the internet computer right now, it's at least 13 times. We could build a subnet actually focused just on data storage to make it cheaper, but it will almost always be cheaper to store it on one computer in a centralized manner than it will be to store it in a decentralized manner. So
Mhm.
already blockchain would have, and the internet computer would have to provide value beyond what a centralized thing does. So what is that value? Well,
Mhm.
one is the financialization. So you're able to transact your data set. The
Mhm.
second one that a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that a data set on its own isn't very valuable. What is valuable is having a clean and contextualized data set and combining it with other clean and contextualized data sets. Now, those data sets are usually owned by other people. So having almost like a marketplace where people can, like, let's say, Nelson, you had this phenomenal data set that I thought had a lot of value, but it was unclean. And I have the
Mhm.
business domain to clean it. I come in, I clean your data set for you. There's probably ways that blockchain can facilitate it so that I do that for you. And then in the future, we split whatever kind of revenue your data set creates. Like those kind of like
Okay.
frictionless
Yeah.
Oh,
transactions.
interesting. Yeah.
Right now, that's a very frictioned transaction in a
Mhm.
centralized way. But if we decentralize it with, again, digital ownership, providing cheap financial rails, it can make it so that like Nelson's clean data set has a lot of value. Maybe even maybe Julian, you come on and you say, hey, that I like Nelson's clean data set. I also have my own clean data set. I'm going to combine these two data sets into a super data set that is extremely
Yeah.
valuable in a specific
Mhm.
context. And then I'm going to start selling that. And then anytime I license it out, Nelson and Kyle get a small share automatically. It could be pennies,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Crypto you can
Yeah.
transact in less than a penny, at a super
Oh yeah.
cheap cost. So I think that could be a really revolutionary way for the internet computer in the context of AI data storage.
Mhm.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure,
Good
for
point.
sure. And again, you can apply this in just so many fields
Yeah.
because we're talking about
Mhm.
data here, and these are things that we use for development. So
Yeah.
very interesting, and I'm so happy to be a part of ICP because again, it's just the limit is not there. So many things that we can do, and we already have so much going on because, like you mentioned, we're just tech nerds putting things out and Just
Yeah.
do what you want with it, right?
Yeah.
Again, there is no limit. So now, can you provide? We already have so much, but for sure, people are still building. You're still working. Everyone's hard at work. Can you provide a glimpse into how the future plans for data and analytics at ICP may impact user experience
Yeah.
and accessibility for both, again, users and developers?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Data and analytics is one part of it, but it's a narrowed subset. I think at high level, what we are on the edge of, I always think of it this way. I'm old enough to remember the internet in 1995. You would get online, you had to like use your phone modem, so it was like a minute-long process to get on the internet, and then when you're on the internet, it took forever to even just like have a
Yeah.
picture load. And the only things you could do is like chat with people.
Yeah.
They're like in a chat room. There were a few news websites that had started posting news online, which was very novel but very unreliable. And that was pretty much it. Like even at that time, there wasn't eBay. And eBay, even when that came around, it was you had to mail like a physical check to somebody. So it took like 4 days for you to pay them. When they finally got paid, they would
Yeah.
mail you your item. So like eBay was nothing without PayPal, and then PayPal came along and made that process. I think we're still in 1995 with the internet computer, right? You get on the internet, you use the internet computer apps, and we've pretty much just copied some of the Web 2 things into Web 3. We're starting to innovate a little bit outside of that. But we still haven't gotten to that first innovation wave where
We're just starting.
Yeah. I mean, think about like Google, like I'm describing 1995. Google didn't come around until like, was it like 2001? So like we're still that Google, eBay, Amazon, like all of those companies are still yet to be built. There's still ideas that are maybe just kind of floating out there. And that's the next thing. And, we're not even, a lot of the things we talked about, like of like AI data sets and stuff like that, that may even be the next one. That might be the Uber, Airbnb phase, the SaaS phase. Who knows? It's going to come faster than the internet did, obviously, because tech moves quicker. But we're still not at that point where developers and entrepreneurs have connected the dots to say like, hey, rather than just doing what's going on in Web 2, actually, there's a really cool use case that is unlocked because of these features. And once one person comes up with that really cool thing, I think it's just going to open up floodgates of like
a snowball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, maybe the ideas are already floating around, or we might see that kind of that level of innovation this year. Who knows, right? So that's very, very, very.
Those are
exciting
great points,
for us.
Kyle.
Yeah.
I might be in one of my talks. I might be using those golden nuggets of knowledge that you just mentioned.
They're free. They're free for anyone to use. Here, I'll give like a good example of thing. It's like, so we have direct Bitcoin integration. So and then we're actually gonna. This is getting a little more technical, but we are gonna do threshold snore, which will allow ordinal inscription, or even just any kind of inscription on Bitcoin. So that's like a Web3 crypto kind of native product. But in my mind, there's an innovation there of when you think about Bitcoin as a network, it is of all the computer networks in the world, whether it's Web3 or Web 2, Bitcoin is most likely going to survive the longest just because it's so decentralized. It's going to be it's almost impossible to take down. There's incentives to keep the network running. So if you think about Bitcoin as a database that will outlive all other databases, there's a lot of value to be able to write data into a forever database, right? Like you're projecting information far into the future. And like to add like there are countries that fought wars over the ability to tell a story into the future. And so like now any individual could write information to Bitcoin and tell that story forever into the future. And so there's products that should be built around that, right? And I don't know what those products are, but like that's the level of innovation of like thinking through what we're doing in a different light and being like, holy cow, this is a phenomenal product that now like needs to be built, and then people getting excited and building it.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we have so many questions. I've been trying to, pick and prepare all of them, but there's just a lot for you here, Kyle. I hope you're ready. I know you are, but there's a lot. Are you ready? Do you want to start with the community questions now?
Sure. I haven't been keeping up, so I'm way behind.
I want to raise
There are a lot.
one question from one
Yes, go ahead.
viewer. From Esther's ICP, I think this is more of a, I don't know, personal or internal to you. What are the biggest challenges that or pain points that you faced with data and analytics with the Dfinity Foundation, and what are you doing about it? What strategies are being pursued to address these challenges?
Yeah, one of the challenges is the fact that a developer can build can basically keep keep the application secret unless they want to open source it, unless they want to export their data. So one of the challenges is how do we track which apps are getting the most traction from a
Good point.
like
Yeah, good point.
without relying on the app itself self-revealing or self-reporting. So
Mhm.
that's one challenge. I think also honestly for me it's like the ecosystem is moving so fast that just kind of keeping up what's important is hard, and I don't know, like that. There's just so many different components, and I get
Yeah.
requests from so many different stakeholders that it
So
can be
many
hard to kind of
layers
keep
to
up.
it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Thank you so much for
Okay,
sending in
good.
that question. He sent another one actually that I highlighted. So, can you share an example of a successful data-driven initiative that has significantly contributed to Dfinity Foundation's mission and goals?
yeah, yeah. So a lot of like tracking the ecosystem has been important. In terms of understanding like cycle burn. So cycle burn is like the gold star metric, and understanding like what it is that's driving. Is it user adoption? Is it more apps coming to the internet computer? So we've gotten a better understanding of that. I will say like some of the other key aspects are like SNS launch swaps. So
Mhm.
we've had
Mhm.
Yeah.
14 SNS swaps. Like understanding the user base of that. Are people? Is it the same people investing in every single swap? Or I should say swapping, in every single SNS? Is
That's a good
there,
point. Yeah.
like those kind of questions are ones that I spend time analyzing,
Yeah.
and kind of reporting back either internally within Dfinity if we're like having like R&D questions and we need to decide how to move
Yeah.
Mhm.
left or to move right, or and then we also try to be as transparent. So like we try to put a lot of what my internal work, we try to put it on the Twitter handle. We always at least every week have a stat of the week of like here's some information for the community to digest.
Mhm.
Very
And
important. Yeah.
yeah, I will say the ICP community is extremely technical and extremely data driven, and so
Yeah.
on Twitter or on X, my DMs get filled with people asking like, "Hey, have you looked into this and saw this?" Or "Hey, what is the context of this data here?" Like, there's a lot of that, which is awesome.
Yeah, Kyle,
Oh
I
yeah,
think
for sure.
sorry, Juliet. I think you mentioned something good there in terms of are we getting new internet identities or new numbers? But at the end of the day, we're looking at increments from the existing.
Mhm.
Are we those increments are very critical, at 1%, 2%, regardless of, because those are the ones that are being evangelized either by the hubs or by the foundation or other influencers out there, and what to do about them. I think that's the next
Mhm.
question. Where do they go? What's the route? What's the journey for new ones?
Yeah, we've gotten really good on tracking at least developers. Like developers is obviously like our what we want to be our top driver. Like it's great to
Yeah,
have a great users, like a great user community, but if we don't have the developers are what
yeah,
we think of it as the developers build the apps that bring the users. And
Mhm.
so we always want to
yeah.
keep a good pipeline of developers coming, and we want them to keep working. And so we do a pretty good job of tracking for people who are developing open source. So they've opened up their GitHub repo. We have a good job of like
Yeah.
finding them, tracking where they came from, and then identifying like when they drop off, and things like that. So like if they haven't committed in the last
Nice. Yeah.
month or
Mhm.
two, then we can kind of pick that up. So we've gotten a lot better. But I think we are at a point where you just have so much data, so much analysis, but you need an internal structure to act on that, and so so like there's that as well. It's like it's not just enough to be like, oh, we have this many more new developers, but it's also, do we have the mechanism to reach out to them to see if they need any help?
Yeah.
Do we have the grants program set up in a way that is applicable to them? All of that kind of stuff works into it.
Again,
Yeah.
so many layers that you have to, go into and discussing these things. But it's nice to hear from you that these are things that already come to your mind, things that you guys are addressing. So, as a user or as a supporter of ICP as well, that gives you comfort, right? And that just adds additional trust or strengthens the trust that you have with
Mhm.
ICP. So this one is from Buste. It's a different form of question. We talked about, the applications of ICP and its impact on possibly, medical field, agricultural AI, things like that. This one asks about the gaming field and the gaming industry. So how does ICP support and enhance immersive gaming experiences, and what potential does it hold for the gaming industry?
Yeah, I love this is such a good question. So the easy answer is, and the typical Web3 is, oh, you can own your digital assets in the game, right? You get an
Mm-hmm.
NFT, you can own that. You buy a skin, you can own that and transfer it. I think ICP is really going beyond that. You have the collective like BoomDAO, which is a decentralized way of providing gaming interfaces and tooling. So now then you can have it so that new developers or existing developers can easily integrate into like an entire ecosystem of games. So like assets can move back and forth. Games can kind of share resources in that way. So that's another way. I also think there was a third thing, and it's just escaping me that came to mind. But the other one is unstoppable APIs. So that's something maybe people don't remember, but like if Zynga was a game, it had
Yeah.
Farmville on Facebook. Facebook took away their API access, and Zynga was like, it was $1 billion company, and it lost $1 billion overnight because Facebook took away their API. So for like if you're building a game, distribution is like one of the biggest things you have to think through. Like, how are
Yeah.
people going to play your game? And it's nice to be able to integrate into existing channels like Facebook for Zynga. It's not nice when that channel decides we're gonna
Oh
take away
yeah,
your
we're
access.
gonna
So
cut you here. Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah,
that that happened. I mean, I feel like many of my peers and me included joined Facebook because of that, because of the games, because of
yeah.
Farmville. I didn't know that they cut it like that. So it's interesting that
Hmm.
we're well, it's not really a problem that we're solving, but I didn't know that the impact or the implications extend through
Well,
social media. That's
yeah.
crazy.
So what
The
what
power
like
that they have.
you could think of like what Discover's done is they've allowed gaming within Discover, but they've
Mhm.
created the
Hmm.
API such that they can't remove them. So you don't
Mm.
see it anymore. You don't see the Zyngas popping up on any platform anymore because the Zynga story was such a great use case of like, if you're a developer, why would you ever put your trust into somebody else? Well,
Yeah, yeah.
now on the
Hmm.
internet computer, you have distribution channels like Discover who can say, look, we have created this API and we've black holed it. So you know that if you start using this API, we can't pull it back. Your game will always exist here.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, that's an amazing question to an equally amazing answer to an equally amazing question. So thank you so much for sending that in, Buste.
Thank
He
you,
sent
Basta.
another one. So ICP Dfinity recently launched Asia Alliance, right? So there's been
That
extra
is
focus
that
on
is a question for us for the Philippines or Asia Alliance. But go ahead, Juliet. Sorry.
Yeah, so what opportunities do you see for developers in Asia to contribute to Web3 projects and enterprise solutions using ICP technology?
I'll just say like I'm not a Asia expert, but what I will say is within Dfinity and within crypto as a whole, I think
Yeah.
the entire industry has kind of realized like the excitement is happening in Asia. We've probably spent too much time focused on Europe and North America, and all like Asia's really in the meantime has set up some pretty smart regulations. There's a ton of talent, right? Asia's like where a lot of talent exists, a lot of
Mhm.
entrepreneurial spirit, a lot of hungry, like people who just have ideas and they want to pursue it night and day. So, I mean, I really do think the industry is quickly moving towards Asia, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
That's really great to hear, especially from someone who's so close to the foundation. And I
Yeah.
think being recognized by someone outside of Asia is just incredibly validating. And it feels like it's about time to recognize talents outside of the usuals, like you said, America and Europe and
I just want to
explore
add,
other
Julian.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just want to add, Julian, that of course, definitely, we should be hungrier. We have this
Mhm.
opportunity of a global marketplace wherein a third world country like us can compete globally on a marketplace similar to Europeans, to North Americans, and we can do this through innovative ideas, education, and just being hungrier and participating with us as well here in the Philippines. Definitely, we're providing that, not different workshops through universities, through government agencies, and we really, again, so I mentioned earlier, I really want to change the narrative of us just being users. We can be builders on this space, and we can do it together. Baste, contact us, and yeah, let's do something together. Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. And again, it's incredibly validating to also hear that from someone outside of Asia, being able to observe that in our space as well. So, the next few questions, we have three more. Hope you're down for three more.
Of course.
Um, these are, I feel like these are topics we already brushed during the AMA, but are perfect to just re-highlight and just it's like a recap of everything we talked about. So, starting with this one from Clark Butler, in what ways does ICP serve as an open alternative to traditional technologies like Amazon Web Services? And what benefits, again, does it offer?
Yeah. So in the same way that Amazon Web Services is a full stack platform, the Internet Computer is a full stack platform. You have all the tooling and services you would want to build and deploy your application. In terms of benefits, again, it comes back to that. If your project needs security, decentralization, transparency, digital ownership, what else is there? If it needs one of those features that are typical in crypto or typical in blockchain, then that's when you should be building. You cannot build it on AWS. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And so that's where the Internet Computer shines. It's this area where you can build applications that were never possible before. And it's up, I mean, it really is up to the entrepreneurs and the developers out
Yeah.
there to really think through, like, hey, what is the cool thing that nobody is thinking about today? Because it was not possible yesterday, but it is possible today.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Hope you answered that one, Clark Butler. Here's one from Espeso. How does Dfinity ensure that the data it collects ethical, transparent, and used responsibly?
Yeah, so there's a couple I don't know, philosophies we use. Number one is we shouldn't have any access to data that isn't publicly available. So like anything I do should be possible for anyone outside of Dfinity to do.
Mhm.
That's just kind of core within a blockchain space. Number two is who owns that data. They have the ability. It should be an opt-in, right? So again, if you've deployed your smart contract, you have user data, or you have your app data, or you have whatever it is. We can't see that unless you have publicly shared it, right? And again, publicly, not just with Dfinity.
Mhm.
And then, and again, I think just within crypto in general, we're really good about like understanding like people own their IP, people own their data, and therefore there should be a financial transaction associated with any data
Mhm.
sharing, if that's like if that's like part of the agreement. So I think
Yeah.
that probably kind of sums it up. Those first 2 points are the main ones. Like we within Dfinity shouldn't have access to data that the public doesn't have access to data, and then it should be an opt-in. So if you own data and you put it on the Internet Computer, nobody should be able to see it unless you have allowed them to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good
again,
point.
just giving back that power to, I mean, again, it's your data after all, so you get to decide what you do with it and to whom it's shared to. So that's a really good question. Thank you so much, Espresso. I hope Kyle was able to, um, you were able to understand it deeper with Kyle's answer. This one is more of your perspective, your objective perspective. This one's from Spitfire. Uh, are there any underrated ICP ecosystem features or developments under the radar, yet harboring significant potential for attention and widespread adoption? Which ones are your favorite? There's a lot to choose from. Some we can keep
Yeah.
short, that we can brag about, right? So, which, if you could just pick one or two, which ones would you talk more about, want people to discover more about?
Yeah, I'm going to answer this, but then I want you guys to answer it as well because I'm interested in hearing. I'm interested in getting
Oof.
alpha
Do not
myself
flip
on.
the table on us. No, I'm kidding.
um, First of all, something a lot of people aren't talking about is everyone's talking about the ETH integration, but the thing that they're not talking
Mhm.
about is that a developer, let's say in 3 or 4 months, a developer will be able to build an app on the internet computer that taps into Bitcoin liquidity, Bitcoin user base, and
Yeah.
taps into Ethereum liquidity and Ethereum's user base. And they'll be able to program that just on the internet computer. So one framework for
Yeah.
a developer, there's no bridges, there's no intermediaries. It's just like, at that point, man, you have basically like the three-headed crypto monster, right? And
Yeah.
it's gonna be groundbreaking for developers. So that's one thing. The thing I think because again, coming from Bitcoin, I'm really excited to see. Actually, there's two ways to think about this. I do believe that the industry is moving back towards Bitcoin in the sense of like ordinals is an example of like everything going on NFTs, on Ethereum and Solana is now moving back to Bitcoin. And there's going to be an entire Bitcoin economy that rivals like the Ethereum economy.
Mhm.
And the thing is that right now that's not easy using Bitcoin L2s. What I'm excited about, like ICP, we're making it somewhat easier. And then again, when we have threshold snore, it's going to be like a very seamless user experience for people who are using the Bitcoin economy on IC.
Mhm.
But then in addition to that, like even with like Stacks, who's by far the number one Bitcoin L2, we're more
Mhm.
of a
Yeah.
side chain if we're getting technical. But once Stacks launches their Nakamoto release, I think what that does is validate in people's minds that now you have two giant players in the Bitcoin economy platform level. And I think it's really going to unlock a lot of new interest in building on Bitcoin. And I think that that's
Mhm.
one of the things that the industry is kind of sleeping. Like 2024, the ETF news has already came out, the halving is coming out. But I think at the end of the year, it's going to be this explosion of innovation of building
Yeah.
Bitcoin products. And I think it's really going to be a combination of like internet computer and Stacks,
Agree.
both kind of pushing it forward. So, but now I'd be interested. I want alpha from you guys. So, what is the most underrated
Oof.
part in the ecosystem?
Sir Nelson, go
Uh, I'll,
ahead.
I'll start. It's going to be quick, but it's going to be something that is not yet right now being seen in mainstream. I think it can be coming from Asia because there are unique things that being solved right now in Asia. One of the projects in our hackathon is focusing on the cocoa beans, cacao beans. That's simple. But it's a big industry in the Philippines. Cacao beans are being manipulated in terms of price. It's not even being tracked.
Hmm.
Um, those simple things that has a use case that ICP wherein comes in that really can solve this problem with the support of the government. It will really shock the global ecosystem. I think that's for me.
That's
Hopefully.
awesome.
Go
I
ahead,
love
Julian. If you,
I
yeah,
love
go
that
ahead,
because
sir.
it solves a real problem, like an existing problem. It
Yeah,
solves it in a way that you can't solve it without the internet computer or without
Yes.
yeah,
crypto.
For
yeah,
sure. And I
exactly.
think those are the kind of problems that, again, we're all, the reason why we're here is because the current ones that we have aren't really solving those problems or are just aggravating the problems at hand. So, with that said, the reason why I'm in crypto and ICP as well is because in the Philippines, we are experiencing a lot of data leakages. So, there
Mhm.
was one recently in the Department of Health, and I think that's really incredibly alarming, and the gravity of that cannot be understated. So I feel that with the secure data storage that ICP is highlighting, we could definitely solve that problem and again apply that to other facets of the government as well. So on the community side, I love that ICP is providing so many resources for developers. Again, in the Philippines, we used to
Yeah,
have just little opportunities for growth. Maybe a user or a developer, project manager, or any other opportunities. But with ICP, Dfinity, and ICP Hub Philippines, we're able to provide a lot more opportunities, not only in Metro Manila, the capital of the Philippines, but also now regionally. We can just give out resources, support, grants to just so many more people. And I think that's a philosophy that you can't really see or is not magnified in other blockchains. So I think that shouldn't be underestimated as well. So yeah, thank you for that. I mean, Kyle, you turned the interview to us. So I mean, that was fun though. Thank you. And thanks for everyone who sent in their questions. There's still so many. Like I'm still scrolling right now.
Yeah,
I
we do
think we
have a
need a
lot.
part two for sure. Just community questions, an hour of you
Definitely, we can
answering
start.
community
Yeah, we can set another one for
questions.
Kyle. Definitely,
I'm in. This was
especially.
fun.
We
Thank you,
had
Kyle.
so much fun. You were so insightful, and the way you answer the questions, they were so easy to understand. Everything made so much more sense, and the examples you gave were just proof that the impact of ICP cannot be denied in Web 2 and even in Web 3. So thank you so much for making time for being here. We had so much fun. We learned so much from you, and we hope to have you back again.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you very much, Kyle. Looking forward to the next.
You have a podcast, right? Maybe before you go, talk more about that. Where can they follow
Yeah, sorry.
you on your
Final message
socials?
first for
Oh,
the
Yeah.
Filipinos.
well, so you could follow me on X at Kyle Langham. I'm also on Open Chat, same handle. And easiest ways to reach out to me. In terms of the podcast, yeah, we had Neurotic Podcast. You could always go back and listen to the old ones. We haven't recorded a new one in a few months. My co-host Jesse, awesome guy, but he's busy on another project, building out a really cool app. So he's been tied
We'll
down.
wait for your comeback for sure. Yeah,
We've talked
in the
about it in the
meantime,
past. Yeah,
yeah, we'll follow you on X and Open Chat. Thank you so
awesome.
much, again. Maraming salamat, as you say it in
Thank
the
you, Kyle.
Philippines, and we hope to have you back.
Maraming
Have a great
salamat.
day.
Have a great day, Kyle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sir Nelson, $1 million question. What was the highlight of the interview for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of knowledge that you can get now from Kyle, and a lot of insights, and we can of course share this definitely sa community natin na moving forward. We can
Mhm.
carve out a lot, kumbaga.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, we share the same vision, regardless of you're from the US, from Europe, from the Philippines. And then nga, na-mention ko ulit, I think this is, I do not know, this is the opportunity right now, no? Wherein we
Yeah.
can align, we can compete, we can be
We're
together on a
working towards
global,
the same
yeah,
goal. No, and
existing
there's
goal with the
tama.
main ethos. It can be a game changer for you, for me, for everybody who's watching this. We'll see in the future. It's under development, and we're pushing forward, and we're getting there.
Yes, for sure. And personally nakakatuwa na the way he explains yung sa mga difficult questions because ICP is incredibly
Galing.
technical. So kung,
Yeah,
kung beginner ka, kung even sometimes intermediate, no, you're still gonna
yeah,
have a hard time with these kumbaga the language na ginagamit natin
yeah.
within
To
ICP.
explain, diba? To
No,
elaborate. Hirap.
napakahirap i-explain, but
Yeah, hirap.
he explained in such an
Exceptionally
easy
well.
and understanding,
Yeah,
easy to understand manner na nakakatuwa and hopefully na-appreciate ng audience natin yan. Whether you're watching this live or you're
yeah,
watching this through replay, I hope you were as educated and enlightened as we are sa episode na to. So we'll definitely try to have more people from Dfinity. Nakakatuwa din, no? Na
yeah.
yung mga
We'll have
tao
more.
from them mismo, binibisita tayo, sinasagot yung mga tanong natin. And I think that just shows yung commitment din nila
Yeah,
in educating us and in listening or engaging sa community mismo. And thank you for your very insightful questions, everyone. I think they sparked interesting conversations. So, roll call natin sila, no? Esther ZICP, maraming salamat. Spitfire, Espeso, Basta 780, maraming salamat. And Clark Butler, 500. Sir Nelson, I'm sure they know the drill by now, but mention anyway how they can claim their ICP rewards.
yeah. DM us on Twitter. That's the only way that we know that you're following us. And then from there, we'll send it to you. And next time sa open chat na to sa DApp ng ICP. But in the meantime, sige, DM muna sa Twitter.
Yes, Prof. T-Rex is here. Maraming salamat, Prof, for dropping by. I think we're gonna be partnering. Sabi natin, no, napakarami nating mga magiging partner na communities and I think one of them is kay Prof. So thank you so much for being here. Ayan, no, napakaraming mga dumaan. Jenkay, hello, maraming salamat. And to our usual suspects, we appreciate you being here. Maraming salamat po. And ayun nga, lumalaki na yung community natin, guys. Thank you very much. We hope you help us reach more people this year. And napakarami nating resources, events, no? At iba-ibang klaseng events. May meetups, may hackathons, no, sir? It's gonna be
Yep.
pretty exciting. There's something for everyone. So please continue following us and help us reach more people. Again, maraming salamat po. Sir Nelson, do you have any more updates or mga reminders
No.
sa ating community?
I'm good. Just follow us. You'll see updates on Twitter. Yeah. And Facebook.
All right. Perfect. Maraming salamat again, everyone. Episode 33 na to, would you believe it? And so many more to go. Who knows, mahit natin ang, sabihin ko sana 100 this year, ang layo pa pala.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal, right? Again, thank you so much po. Have a great night, everyone. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.